How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Oh, my royal family. When I say sweet, oh, so sweet to me. Oh, I got another video about the sheriff. So stop everything you're doing. Go get your weed. Go get your weed. Go get your drink. I got my grape juice on point. Plenty ice. Plenty lemon. Okay. When I say sweet, ooh. Oh, so sweet. So my royal family, let's go on this journey. So, some black folks then got caught up in Trump's shit. Oh, yeah. Yes, they have 3 Milwaukee County jail staffers charged in the death of inmate Terrell Thomas. What a shame. What a shame. What a shame. And, I'm gonna play this first video, my royal family. And it's just a little snippet. And then we're gonna go deeper into the sheriff shit.
Now being held responsible for the death of Terrell Thomas in the Milwaukee County Jail.
Our expectation when Mr. Thomas was brought into custody is that he would be kept safe. The allegations set forth in the criminal complaint document that did not happen.
Prosecutors say Thomas had his water cut off for 7 days after he flooded his previous jail cell, adding he was diagnosed as bipolar. The criminal complaint renders felony charges carrying 3.5 years maximum confinement if convicted against 3. Correctional Officer James Ramsey Guy turned the water off under orders.
But also had an obligation, as is detailed in the criminal complaint, to notify other people that had taken place.
Supervisor Lieutenant Kashka Metters ordered the water turned off, but had an obligation to make sure the water was turned back on at the appropriate time. And Jail Commander Nancy Evans had the obligation to make sure the steps were followed correctly.
And if they are not, there's also an obligation to assist in the investigation in a timely and complete manner.
Chisholm says substantial video was lost because of the delay. Meanwhile, an internal investigation is underway at the sheriff's office looking for rules violations. Acting Sheriff Richard Schmidt says he will make a decision on disciplinary action based on the results.
I will be very strong on my decisions if indeed those documents support what I believe they're going to show.
Okay, my royal family. So let me bring you up to speed a little quick. Some folks don't know. So when all of this was going down, that sheriff, when he was in town, because he was so busy going around the country cooning and being on Fox TV, buck dancing. And but everything still falls back at him. So the next video that I'm going to show you will give you a clearer picture. See, even though he didn't abruptly resigned and left and ran to D.C., and he left his wife, he divorced her, he got his ass up out of there, and he left a pile of shit. Oh, yes, he did. And I can smell it way over here. Can't you smell it? I can smell it. And but on a serious note, my royal family, there were people that died in this jail, even a baby. There was even one of the guards that did a rape. They still trying to keep that hush hush. So let's go over here next, and we're gonna listen to this video because it's gonna be deep.
We would like to offer you the position. You got the job.
Really?
We'll see you soon.
I gotta get some clothes. Hi, I'm dare.
Oh, is it Casual Friday? Sorry, guys. Does anyone know the dial-in? Oh, thanks, sir. I like your pants, too.
She rose to the top, and then she came crashing down. Now, the former commander of the Milwaukee County Jail is facing possible jail time of her own.
Fox 6 investigator Brian Polson joins us now to show you how a series of inmate deaths that happened on her watch led to her rapid demise. Brian?
Yeah, Ben and Stephanie, one death in particular cost the jail commander her job and will leave her a convicted felon. But an attorney for the families of inmates who died in custody says he was not expecting what she did to try and avoid criminal responsibility. Perhaps the only thing more remarkable than Nancy Evans' rise to the top,
honestly, I never really imagined this,
has been her rapid fall from grace.
She didn't just plead to criminal charges, it was a felony.
14 years after she first became a correctional officer, Evans was handpicked by Sheriff David Clarke to run the county's entire jail operation.
And the question remains, why?
James Gendy is an attorney for the families of 3 inmates who either died in custody or gave birth in custody to a baby that died, 2 of them on Evans' watch.
We have a problem jail where you then put in charge a individual with little to no experience to be in command in a correctional setting.
It was a job Evans hadn't even applied for until Sheriff Clarke's second in command, then Inspector Richard Schmidt, called her into his office.
his words were, I need you to submit a resume by Monday.
In a civil deposition taken last fall, Evans said the job was supposed to be Assistant Superintendent of the House of Correction.
It became me in charge of the whole facility.
She leapfrogged over candidates with more experience and was officially appointed to the job just 6 days after completing the required law enforcement training.
You'd probably never guess she is in charge of over 3,000 inmates.
In February of 2012, Fox 6 News profiled the county's new female warden of both the House of Correction in Franklin and the Milwaukee County Jail downtown.
Now, at one point, I probably put limits on what I thought I could do, but you know, I've learned not to do that.
The honeymoon didn't last long.
Investigators are focusing on payments for work on the downtown jail, work that was never done.
Just 6 months into the job, Evans was already the subject of a criminal investigation for allegedly steering $6,000 worth of government contracts to a man with whom she was having an extramarital affair. The DA eventually declined to file charges because he could not prove Evans herself got a financial benefit. Instead, Sheriff Clarke demoted her from major to captain and temporarily reassigned her out of the jail.
How did you end up back at the jail in April of 2015?
I was asked to return to the jail.
By whom?
Sheriff Clarke.
1 year after resuming her jail duties, a schizophrenic inmate named Terrell Thomas died in his cell from severe dehydration. Video surveillance showed a correctional officer shutting off water to the cell and never turning it back on. But Evans did not tell her superiors. Instead, she allowed the video to be overwritten and destroyed, then mounted what one investigator called an unconscionable cover-up.
Obviously, that makes the searching for the truth process that much more difficult.
Over the next 3 months, inmate Sade Swayzer gave birth in her cell to a baby that died. Christina Fiebring died without treatment for heroin withdrawal. And Michael Madden struck his head and died during a medical emergency. All 3 led to federal lawsuits that remain open.
Highly unusual. I don't think you can identify another string of so many deaths in such close proximity anywhere in the country.
In all, 7 in-custody deaths occurred over a 2-year period before Evans was criminally charged for lying to investigators in the Terrell Thomas case.
A lot of those are natural causes.
By then, Sheriff Clarke had already stepped down.
We're not a perfect organization.
His successor, Sheriff Richard Schmidt, recommended Evans be fired, but instead she resigned, and the finger-pointing began.
I did not have the authority to change the staffing.
He put Nancy Evans in that position. In other words, he made that recommendation to me, and I said, sounds good to me.
Last spring, the two sheriffs and longtime friends,
Sir, hold on. I'm sorry.
found themselves in an unplanned live debate on a local talk radio show.
We have Sheriff Richard Schmidt on the phone.
Schmidt said he tried to convince Clarke to fire Evans sooner.
I had recommended that multiple times. He refused to do it.
Clarke countered that it was Schmidt who failed to pull the trigger.
But you had the authority to do it, and you didn't do it.
Once people started dying, everybody looked to pass the buck.
But it's what Evans did in the midst of her criminal case that riled Gendy the most.
Was she trying to avoid responsibility?
That would be one reason that she would claim incompetency, yes.
In October, Evans' lawyer told the judge in her criminal case there was reason to believe she was not competent to stand trial.
If you don't understand my question, please tell me.
Even though she had just answered questions in a 3-hour deposition 2 weeks earlier without raising any concerns about her mental fitness.
If she wasn't competent to proceed with her criminal case, how was she competent to be running a jail? And after 1 death, after 2 deaths, after 3 deaths, after 4 deaths.
In the end, a doctor determined Evans was indeed competent to proceed. She pleaded guilty to felony misconduct in public office. When we stopped by her house, Evans did not answer the door.
I think it's the start of a new beginning.
But soon, she will have to answer for her crime.
We can only hope going forward that these tragedies won't continue to occur.
Now, after we stopped by Evans' home, I got a call from her attorney, Robert Webb. He says it would not be appropriate for her to comment for this story because she has not yet been sentenced. Evans is scheduled to be sentenced for the felony conviction on March 22nd.
Brian, let's go back for a second. So both former sheriffs, Clarke and Schmidt, are pointing the fingers at one another for not firing her sooner. Did they either of them say why that she was promoted to run the jail in the first place after all this?
I was able to actually reach former Sheriff Richard Schmidt by phone. He talked to me briefly. He said he felt Evans was well trained and qualified when he first recommended her in 2011, but he declined to comment on what has happened since then, saying the voters had their say when they elected Sheriff Lucas last fall, and they probably don't want to hear from him anymore. So that was all we heard from him on.
Okay, that's the end of that. My royal family. Anybody that's new to my channel, I have a playlist, and I think I've done well over 40 videos over about the sheriff. Now keep in mind, my royal family, I don't care what they say, because I do a lot of reading and a lot of deep researching. Still, at the end of the day, the sheriff was still in charge and stuff, and he's one of those type that like to pass the buck, because I was wondering, it was boggling my mind, why would he abruptly resign? He knew this shit was gonna hit him, because now you dealing with death. So basically what this state is dealing with is they are cleaning up the sheriff shit, and the only thing that I feel bad about is the death of the inmates and the infant child. But the rest of it, I don't care. They have had to do audits. They didn't had to check all kind of stuff because he wasn't really there. So he would just shift it on to someone else because, you know, he was trying to make America great again. And he don't give a damn about those people's deaths, but I tell you this. His hands are not clean. He took no responsibility, and even though these staffers will pay the penalty for not properly doing their job, ultimately in the end, you know, he was the boss. He was the head nigga in charge. So if they won't get his ass, then he has to deal with the law of nature. And nobody can get around that. So, I just wanted to present this video. Because, you know, y'all know how I feel about the sheriff. Anytime his crazy ass pop up, oh, I'm going to do my thug thizzle. So anyway, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.